But have you ever had someone that ever asked you, "Hey, pitch me"? And the problem that everybody falls into is that they typically, when they someone says, "Pitch me," they over pitch. They really do. Instead of taking the time to figure out what that personality type is that you're talking to, learning how to connect with that person, sharing a story for what you're doing, like that's what you want to get to. But hey, not every that might not resonate with everybody, right? But that's also why you can take back control when someone says pitch me, which that was one of the best lessons I ever learned from another mentor that I had called her name's Forbes Riley. Great person to learn from. But I always thought about like, hey, what if your child, your son, your daughter ever comes up to you and says, hey, dad, why does uncle always ask about the numbers? And why does auntie always want to hug everyone? Right. And when they ask you that, you're just gonna smile, right? And that's because you understand people are different. It's not random. It's actually powerful when you know this, right? So today I want to teach you something that I wish every school taught when I was in school, right? This is the PACE framework. It's how we understand what makes people tick, how they make decisions, and most importantly, how do you connect and build trust with that person? And this is not just for real estate or business, right? It's for parents, teachers, kids. Because when you can connect, right? When you learn to connect with anyone, you can lead with love and purpose in every part of life. So let's get right into it. All right, so let's start at PACE, right? PASE. P stands for practical, right? These are the four different types of personalities. A stands for action. S stands for social. And E stands for emotional. Okay. These four personality types, they review how people make decisions, how to decide whether they want to trust someone. Ultimately, help you figure out what will make them say yes, right? And each person that you meet, it's not like they won't have any of the other ones, right? But they typically might tend to have one dominant type of these styles, or they lead one of these styles. And if you can figure out which one it is, you can speak the language, right? It's almost like if you're playing a video game, right? Sometimes we play video games and every character has special powers, right? You ever play Super Smash Brothers? You have one person that's really fast, you have one person that's really strong, right? The better you understand their powers, the better teammate you can become. This is the cheat code for connecting with people. Okay, so let's dive into each type. So let's start with the first one. P is for practical, right? A practical person's mindset might be, hey, I care about logic. I want to see the proof and understand what works, right? I mean, they typically would like structure, systems, step by step logic or guides. They're going to ask you for charts, data, comparisons, and not to be annoying, but that's how they feel safe. That's how they feel safe when they make a decision, right? Now, I'm not saying all folks in these careers typically fall into P for practical, but you might see like accountants, engineers, financial underwriters, analysts, attorneys, right? They might be very practical. They might ask questions to you that says like, "Hey, can you walk me through this?" Right? Do you have the numbers or a model that I can look at? And when you want to talk to them, you want to use hard facts, right? No fluff. You want to show your work, show your math, you want to show timelines, and you want to show proof, right? If you're talking to a practical, it's almost as if you're talking to a someone that wants to build furniture with an instruction booklet, right? They don't want to just wing it, right? Basically, like, oh, the picture on the diagram looks like this, so I want I want my instructions for step by step. They want all the pieces lined up, right? They don't want to miss any steps. And in real estate, hey, maybe you got to say, hey, we're projecting a 13.8% internal rate of return, IRR, backed by last year's trailing comps. This is the 5 phase milestone. We have full city approval already. We got a great team in place, right? those checklists, those pro formas, those due diligence decks, right? If they're structured, that's what's going to give them confidence that you know what you're doing. All right, let's talk about the second one. A is for action, right? Their mindset means that they want to move fast, right? They want to run, run, run. They want to take risk. And they want to win, right? Their action types are typically very driven. They are fast moving, very results oriented, and they tend to make decisions quickly, right? As long as the reward is clear. Now, action might be founders, VCs, athletes, right? Sales executives, right? They might ask questions like, hey, what's the bottom line? Or what's the upside, right? And when you want to speak with an action person, right, you might want to be direct, you want to be punchy, you want to be fast. Ty Lopez talks about a scenario where you have to go yell at them, like, "Oh, let's just get this done," right? You might want to lead with the win, right? Show how they benefit immediately. I'm always looking for better ways to come up with better analogies, but talking to an action type might be racing go-karts, right? If you're a fifth grade, you might know what that is. Right? They don't want the pit stop menu. They want to see the checkered flag. They just want to go, 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 right? You might say, hey, you're going to be the first on this deal, right? You're going to get the preferred equity and we're going to close in 60 days, right? Those one pagers, if you can give them a fast visual of what the ROI looks like, if you have great headlines, right? If you show your wins to date, that might help your case or the conversation. Again, this is not investment advice. We're not soliciting any investments on this call. We're not pitching anything. I'm just trying to throw out some ideas so that you can have some practical value that you can keep with you whenever you're talking to. I know a lot of folks here are here for real estate, so I try to throw in a little bit of those real estate analogies every once in a while. But at the end of the day, I think learning how to identify the personality is going to be so important for our kids. So that's why I come up with these simple analogies because I am really depending on all of you to help me come up with better analogies, help me become a better dad, right? So let's talk about the third one. S is for social, right? Their mindset is going to be focused on they care about the people, they care about connections, they care about the community, right? They typically build decisions based on relationships, right? They want to know who's involved, who you've helped, and why it matters, right? They might be a teacher, they might be a nonprofit leader, nurses, city officials, right? I mean, counselors. I mean, they might ask questions to you and say, "Hey, who else is doing this with you?" They might ask questions such as, "Oh, how will this affect the community?" Right? And I think it really helps if you can tell them stories of the people that you've been able to help, especially if you're in affordable housing, right? This is a great collective mind of people that will appreciate how much you emphasize collaboration, the values of your team, and what their people stand for. And this is very important, right? You want to be warm. You don't want to be transactional when it comes to assets, right? Think about sitting around at a campfire, right? It's not about the sparks, it's about the warmth that you feel from sitting together, right? And when it comes to affordable housing, you might want to say, you want to stay focused. Like, hey, this project is going to help 396 families get a stable place with a safe roof over their heads, so that their kids can grow up and make an impact, right? And we want your input to make it even better, right? You're involving them, right? Show them photos, show them case studies, tell them the names, tell them testimonies of people that you've helped. That's all going to play into it. All right. Last one, E. E is for emotional, right? Their mindset is going to be, they're going to be making decisions based on passion, the purpose, and how it feels, right? They're typically very, emotion heads are typically very visionary. They're idealistic. They're very driven by certain values, and they care less about the how and more about the why. So these might be your philanthropists, artists, coaches, spiritual leaders, and they're going to ask questions like, "Hey, what's the bigger picture here? Right? What kind of legacy will this create? So when you speak to them, the E's, you're going to want to share your mission, right? Use that vivid language, metaphors, right? Lead with your heart and not spreadsheets, right? This is where huge, just very, very big, right? The P's, you might be focused on the numbers. The E, you got to lead with the mission. So when people typically put forth their own version, sometimes people lead these pitch decks with the story right away. When in reality, you might be dealing with a P and they would just want to know the numbers right away. Why is that? The personality types are different, right? Go figure. So you got to figure out who you're speaking to and learn to adjust your presentation because that could be the difference between landing your story, your narrative, your project, whatever affordable housing project you want to do. That's the difference if you know what their personality type is. This is so important, not just in real estate, but in any other aspect of your life. I really hope that all of our kids grow up to do something great because they're meant to do, they're meant to be. They're meant to be doing something great because they have us as parents. But for them to do something great, they need to enroll the help of others. And how can you enroll the help of others and get other people on your side if you don't know what the personality type is? You don't know how to talk to them, right? For an E, you might say, hey, you have the chance to be the spark that helps create affordable housing for everybody, or it helps end homelessness for 100 families, right? That might be how you speak to an E, right? Share the stories, share the visuals, share the befores and afters, right? That's what you got to emphasize. So let's talk about how to spot these personality types like really quickly, right? Really quickly. I know we kind of came through some examples, but some type usually have signals, right? The the P's, the practicals, they might ask about the data and the steps for it. I do this a lot. Your action types, they ask for speed. They want to push for the speed and the returns. The socials are going to ask for your people, the partners on the team. And the emotional people is going to listen for the meaning and the purpose behind it. I would say I'm very much high P and high E. I want to say that. So once you know the patterns, you're going to start spotting these personality types. Just start paying attention, right? When you listen to people, find out, listen for what their personality type is so you can learn how to connect. Okay. All right. When you find out their personality type, I'm not saying go be fake, right? Don't fake about who you are because it's really obvious if you're not being genuine, right? But this is not about faking who you are, it's about tuning into who they are, right? Speak their language, meet them where they are. Because if you don't, they can't hear what your message is, right? It's like dancing with people, right? Sometimes you don't, when you dance with different partners, you don't just change rhythm. You got to listen to their first. Sometimes you got to follow their lead so you guys can coexist or perform together. This is how you build unity. This is how the real trust begins. So you got to learn how to meet people where they are, not where you want them to be. Meet them where they are. All right. This is so interesting because I heard the stat today that it says the average human has three close friends that they're like really deeply connected with. But a average human can really have the capacity for 15 deep relationships. And I thought about how do we teach our kids to make friends? Well, the first thing I thought of was, well, the first thing you do when you make friends is you ask them, hi, my name is blank. What is your name? Oh, your name is blank. So nice to meet you, blank. And after that, what do you do? I mean, and I'm going to tell my kids to listen before they talk, ask before they explain, and again, meet them where they are, not where you wish they were. And I think this is what was so powerful with the PACE framework and learning how which career types, which personality types, and how to speak to them just slightly differently. And I hope this was helpful for all of you because this is really transformational when you can recognize this. So the next time you talk to someone or you meet someone new, try to figure out what's their framework and then note in your head, hey, how did I talk to that person? Did I connect with that person? Huh? Why didn't I connect with that person? Because this is going to teach you how to listen, right? This framework is going to teach you how to listen, because you got to listen before you can lead. This is going to teach you how to love without judgment, without pressure. So you can be fully present with that person where they are, right? And remember, if you remember anything from today, please just remember speak to who they are, adjust your approach, and give the other person the space to feel seen. Because we don't need louder voices anymore, in my opinion. This world doesn't need more noise, more negativity. I think it needs better listeners, needs more warmth, needs more love. And when you understand pace, I think you won't just be building homes anymore. You're going to be building real human connection. And I think that's definitely at risk going forward. So I hope you pass along this knowledge to your kids. I mean, I'm feeling super urgent to record some of these sessions. I know this not necessarily related fully to real estate, but I tried to draw some analogies there. But think about it. What if my day comes too early? What am I leaving for my kids? Same for you guys. What are you leaving for your kids? Love on them. Hope you spend some quality time with your family and friends today, tomorrow. Thank you so much for being part of the live for 579 days. Thank you so much for supporting the Affordable Housing Podcast. Without people like you all, I would never have the home I grew up in. So I'm not trying to pretend to become an expert. I just simply want to share with you what I'm learning every day, how I'm applying it, and how I'm working on becoming a better dad. And just in case our time comes too soon, this is why I tell all of you to start your own YouTube channel, because how I really thought about the day I died and I thought, hey, how am I going to feel at peace when the time comes? And it's, did I leave enough information? Did I leave them with the right relationships? And did we help enough people so that it's inevitable that they're going to help our kids going forward? That's what keeps me up at night. So that's why I do this every single day. And when you realize that you're doing this for somebody else and not yourself, that's when you actually stay more consistent. So I hope you all find some comfort in that. All right. Have an amazing night. I'll see you all tomorrow for day 580. Have a good one, everybody. And hey, if you want me to go deeper in any of these topics that I'm learning, leave a comment down below or DM me anytime. I am here. I read all my DMs and I'm just here to help. All right. Have a good one, everybody. See you tomorrow.